Welcome to Quilt Blocks on American Barns. I'm Eleanor Burns. Well, we've been leisurely traveling through the countryside, stitching up 5 different barns with little 3-inch blocks on them. Well, we're matching the 8-foot quilt blocks painted on real barns. Well, our block for today, the North Star block, hangs on the weathered roof barn on the Wheelock Farm in Kent, New York, owned by Chet and Audrey Wheelock. Well, when choosing a quilt design for the barn, they liked the patriotic colors of the North Star and the way those colors stood out from the background, and then hanging the block in a diamond configuration utilizes the peak of the barn and gives their block a different look from the others on the Western New York country barn quilt trail. Well, Chet had grown up on a farm, and after visiting her grandparents' farm as a girl, Audrey said she never wanted to marry a farmer. Well, they married in 1952. Join me as we turn strips into diamonds. The North Star is often used as the symbol for the barn trails, as this one. Here's the symbol right here. It says Barn Quilts of Grundy County, Iowa. Well, I've been to Iowa and looked over those barns. What fun. Right here, the article says that they have 51 barns with blocks painted on them, but by now, I'm sure there's more. Well, this is the block. It has just the red and white, easy to pick out with the blue background this time. They are strips, and when those seams all come together, it is amazing how flat you can get that center. I have this great trick. I'm going to show you how to mush that flat. Lots of fun to do. Well, starts with 2-inch strips. You can do 2-inch by 20-inch, 2 of them, or you can do 1 whole long, salvage to salvage, 2-inch by 40-inch, and you'll get all of your diamonds out of here. Well, this time, do not use a scant 1/4 of an inch. You want to use a perfect 1/4 inch by measurement so that you can just put those 2 strips together and just pedal right down there. Well, this is the first time that I've ever tried to do a block like this. And in the beginning, I looked at that and said, oh, no way, can't do it. But you can. It's really easy. So now once you have your strips sewn together, take them and press them with the red on top. And this time, I would really recommend a good hot steam iron because you don't want to have any folds, so you get perfect diamonds. Okay, now you would actually need 2 of these if you're going to make all 8 of your diamonds. So now take and just fold them, fold the strip, line it up together, just take that salvage edge, trim off the edge, get rid of it, and then cut in 8-inch sections. You need to have 4 of them. I can only get 2 out of this one, but 8-inch sections, and then once again, fold them in half. And get that all lined up so that you can cut a perfect diamond. Good, and I'm just gonna fold the second one in half. Perfect. The trick is a kaleidoscope ruler, and I just took some glow line tape and put it right across the line at 3 7/8, and the glow line tape is right underneath that. You'll get a perfect diamond. And then take that glow line tape, put your line on the seam, make it perfect, make sure they're all lined up. Let's see, I'm just going to take it, cut up, cut down. Let's see. Ooh, looking good. Now that was easy. So let's just go ahead. I'm going to cut this one too. Take the kaleidoscope ruler, line up the line on the stitches, 3 7/8 across the bottom. And this is the part you really want to watch out for. So let's just hold that down tight, cut up, turn, and cut right down. I get to look and see if I've got that nice peak. Perfect, looking good. Now, with 2 of them, you can do 1/4 of it. So I'm just going to lay these two like this, get rid of this, and move on to my background squares. I'm going to add background here and here. They are two different sizes of squares. The large one is 4 3/4, and the smaller one is 3 3/4. Easy numbers to remember. So just cut those on the diagonal, and you actually need to have one square for each quarter. So get those cut. Remember which ones are the large ones and which ones are the small ones. So I'm just going to turn it like this so I can set up the large ones. I'm going to take them and actually open them up and put them inside the points like this. They're going to be sewn right in there. And then the small ones, the 3 3/4 inch ones, go along the side like this. And that actually makes up 1/4 of the block. So I'm going to get all of my cutting done, and I'll show you how to sew that together. By using these two different sizes of squares, we've avoided the technique of insetting seams, and that's a good thing. Everybody shudders and goes, oh no, inset seams. There are none in the North Star, so you'll really enjoy that. Take the two and divide them down the middle so that you clearly have a left half and a right half. It makes it easier that way. And start by flipping the diamond onto the small triangle. And when you do that, make sure that you have the diamond approximately 3/8 of an inch down from the top. And then it's just going to hang out a little bit at the bottom. But don't worry, because it's oversized. And we'll just square all of that up in the beginning. Use that same 1/4 of an inch that you've been using. Line it up so you've got that 3/8 of an inch right at the top. Looking good. Needle down, zoom right along there. Use your stiletto to help hold that seam flat right there. And I'm just going to slip my seam under. Now, it's really smart to do good pressing as you go along. So then when you get done in the end, it's going to be perfect. So turn so the background or the blue is on the top. Set the seam, open, and press into it. And if you've done it correctly, that background is going to line up perfectly with that red diamond. You'll have a little bit hanging over on the bottom. We'll just trim that off right now. That's what I like about all of these oversized pieces. You just cut off your tips and get rid of them. There's got to be a use for that. Something you can do with it. Now let's slide this back right in here. The large triangle goes next. Flip it right sides together. Make sure you've got that 3/8 of an inch tip up at the top. Not quite perfect at the bottom, but we can just sliver trim that in the end. Well, the Wheelocks lived in an area in New York that is often known as the Black North. And it makes perfectly sense because the Underground Railroad slaves would escape up into that area and find safety in New York. It was a great place. So the North Star block is perfect for that area. So now let's just take this blue, set the seam, open, and press. And then once again, we've got a straight line. We've just got these tips hanging out on both edges, and I am getting rid of those right now. And this is actually one diamond that we've got finished. We've only got 7 more to do. So put the left one back in place and start on the right half. This time you flip right sides together to the large triangle. Make sure you've got it lined up at the top. And on this particular patch, you're going to have the tip lined up exactly with the bottom of the background. That works really well. So get that perfect. You know, there were many people that escaped to New York. And one of them was Harriet Tubman, who led many excursions. Many Underground Railroad slaves went together with Harriet leading. And then from there, they often went on to Canada for safety. But great place with lots of history to it. Okay, one more. Press this open. And all we have left is that little triangle. Now this time, take and center the triangle. When you flip it right sides together, you're going to have tips hanging out on both ends. 3/8 here, 3/8 down here. And if you just flip it over from the back side, you can see that they're equally spaced. Perfect. So let's just get this one on, and this will be the last to actually complete 1/4 of the block. And then you just have to go ahead, make the other 3 so you can put that block together. Okay, zooming right down here. This point, we're actually going to put the 2 pieces together, and it would be great if it locked, but it doesn't in one point. Set the seam, open, and press. And right here is the part that I'm concerned about. Right here doesn't quite lock, so we're going to just get rid of that tip and use a pin. It's going to be perfect. So flip it right sides together and go down about 1/4 inch. Go straight in like this, put your pin right here on the seam, and then flip it back so that you can see that you're going in 1/4 inch underneath. And up at this part, the seams are going to lock together. Pull them back like this, roll them in. Good. And just work them like that. Perfect tip up there. And just stitch that seam right along there. Every time I sit down, then I lose my match. If I would just hold my tongue just right. Okay, so zooming along there. Right as I get into here, I'm going to pull out my pin, match it along there, and match up the tips right down at the bottom. Line those up, looking good. Love to study about the Underground Railroad. There's so many interesting things and interesting people to study about. Now, this is the last seam for this 4th. Set the seam, open, and press into it. Ooh, it's looking good. All right, matches there, matches here. That's good. A little uneven on the outside edges. That part we're not going to worry about, because now we're just going to square it up to 6.5 inches. And this is the 6.5 inch fussy cut ruler. There's a line going down through here, and I'm going to put that line right on the seam, slide it up so that it goes continuously along there. I see that there is extra hanging out on all sides. Right here, there's a dot on the ruler, and that goes right at that seam allowance there. I put it on a turnable, so I don't even have to pick anything up. I'm just going to hold it tight and turn it around completely so that when I put that cutter back down again, the ruler hasn't moved. Perfect. Just a little bit extra. Just take all of this, get rid of it, and just be proud of yourself if this is what your 1/4 looks like. Let me get my pieces all done. I'll show you how to sew the block together. I have my 4/4 done, and now I'm going to cross my fingers and hope that it matches in the center and it lays flat. No volcanoes in this block. Well, I actually did turn some of the quarters around and switch them so that I could make sure that they were going to line up across here, and then work relatively well in the middle. So let's try it. So I do vertical rows from top to bottom. Just take the pieces on the right and flip them right sides together to the left. This is at one point. I get that one pin to just go ahead, stick it in through on the seam, and then roll back underneath and put the pin in 1/4 inch in. So let's hope. Okay, I'm going to start right up here at the top, line up those top edges, and just start right down through. And as I get into that pin, oh, you got to pull that pin out. Not good to stitch over the pin. So pull your pin out And keep on going. And right down here, they should lock together. If you just open them up, you'll see how that red point rolls right into that white point. So just roll them in tight. Ooh, it's looking good. Lock them together. Hold them down with your stiletto. And then when you get to that point, make sure all of your seams lay flat. A little bit of a jump. Looking good so far. Okay, the second piece is just going to go right behind it. Do that same rolling thing. That red dot, that red diamond should just nestle right in there to the white. Don't cut your threads now. Just go straight through continuously. And I'm going to be brave right here. No pin, but just finger pin. Oh, this is working good. You know, it's interesting because the North Star is often thought to be the brightest star in the sky. But you know, actually, the Farmer's Almanac said, nope, it's actually number 48. Okay, let's check this center, because if it's not good now, we're never going to make it better. Okay, this is looking good. That's how you want it to cross, right there in the middle. And the same, looking good. Now, this is the part that makes that block leg really flat. We're going to do that swirling technique. To make it swirl, we're going to take the seam on the top and push it up, and the seam underneath goes down. And this is quite thick. So up on the top, down underneath is very thick. This is going to be a real miracle if this works. So let's get it all lined up. And the outside edges, oh brave, finger pinning again. Well, hold those seams flat. I guess I'll just have to put a yo-yo right there if it doesn't quite match. No, that wouldn't look good. So I'm going to pick this up, push this seam up, down underneath, and just with my fingers, line that up, match it up really good. Push down as hard as I can. I think there is at least 8 thicknesses right here. And this is the one part that would be very easy to do a narrower seam. So be careful. If you put a little pressure on it, it's easier to go through there, and it'll work great. Little bit more. Line that up, and we'll see. You know, just knowing how to find the North Star is the basic survival skill. You know where that North Star is, you can survive anywhere. And we'll see if I survived the center. I think I'll look first and just see. Ooh, looking good. Pretty amazing, but we can make that even flatter. So now let's go right to the seam where I did the top seam up and the underneath seam down. And we're going to look right at this seam right here, because I want to cut the threads that connect that block together, and then just with my seam ripper, I'm going to pull out the seams, the stitches. There's about 3 stitches I want to pull out. Ooh, get one of them. Okay, pull out on one side, and once you have them pulled out on one side, turn it over. Well, you can clearly see the stitches on this side. These are the vertical stitches right here that I want to take out, right along there. Just dig those seams out. They're coming. One more stitch. Patience. And now I'm going to take this seam and lay it flat at my iron and swirl these seams around that I just now did. All 4 of them right around the center, and then right in this very center, I'm going to work with my fingers. Oh, mush it good. That is definitely laying it flat. I love this heavy iron. So now you can see the way the center looks from this side, and then from the other side. Ooh, it's looking good. I think I'm pretty proud of this block. It looks great. Well, I have 2 12-inch blocks. Now, the 6-inch, oh, what fun that is. Just such a little guy. But I have the measurements to tell you about if you want to write them down quickly. The strips are 1 1/4 inches. And then you cut them into a 4 3/4 inch piece. Now, since they're so tiny, I think it'd be really good if you did it one at a time instead of folding this in half. You put your glow line tape at 2 1/4, cut up on 1/2 of the diamond, turn it around the other way, and then just put that line again, trim it, looking good. We've got those diamonds. And then with the little pieces added onto the side, this squares up to a perfect 3 1/2 inches. I have a 3 1/2 inch fussy cut ruler here. Just put this seam right down here at the point. I have it on my turnable. Trim 2 sides, just swing it around there and trim on the last 2 sides. Perfect for the little 6 inch. So I hope your blocks turn out to be a stellar performance. Imagine stepping out of the shadows, guided only by the light of the North Star in the darkness, and running. Hundreds of slaves endured this dangerous act night after night as they fled to the next safe house, hoping to meet up with a conductor who was going to lead them on. Well, their final goal was Canada, north of the U.S. border. One of the best clues they could use to find north was to locate the North Star, also called Polaris. Well, and like other stars, it never changes position. It always points north. Well, slaves knew the group of stars as the drinking gourd or the Big Dipper. Well, 2 stars on the cup's edge always point to the North Star on the Little Dipper. And by finding the drinking gourd in the sky, slaves could always find the North Star. Well, the words to the song, Follow the Drinking Gourd, actually allude to traveling north. It goes, follow the drinking gourd, follow the drinking gourd, for the old man is awaiting to carry you to freedom. Follow the drinking gourd. Well, there were other clues as well to find out where north actually was. They knew moss usually grew on the north sides of trees, and they also observed that migrating birds flew north in the summer. Oh, there were so many secret ways that helped guide the slaves. In 1994, Jacqueline Tobin met a woman named Ozella McDaniel Williams, who told her that there were 10 quilts that were used to communicate information about the Underground Railroad. Well, Ozella's story is disputed by many authorities, including Barbara Brackman, a well-known quilt historian. Well, these 10 blocks are in this quilt, and the significance of each is a meaningful lesson. Well, whether the story is true or not, this quilt can be found in the book Underground Railroad Sampler. The block on the top is called the wagon wheel. Now, many slaves escaped from their owners by wagon, and they continued to ride to safety, or they walked, hiding out in forests or swamps. This is the bear's paw. Now, the runaways were directed to follow the trail of the bear's footprints. Animal footprints would indicate the best path or be just like a road map through the mountains. And following bear's paws would also lead tired, hungry runaways to food and water. A basket was a logical item to slip a little food into, or perhaps some tools as flint and a compass to aid them in their flight. A story was told that a woman in a safe house would carry a laundry basket full of food up and down the stairs to runaways, and no one was suspicious of her action. Well, the log cabin block may have directed runaways to build a log cabin to weather out winter. Now, quilts have been found with black squares, indicating the house or barn they were hiding in front of was a safe house to spend the night. Now, this is the geese block. The slaves were to take their direction, timing, and behavior from the migrating geese. You know, the geese fly north in the spring and it was also the best time for slaves to escape. And the geese have to stop at waterways along their journey in order to rest and eat. So the North Star was not the only guiding light leading slaves to Canada and freedom. Enjoy making your North Star block.